Hi, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce you Professor Alex Imash. He's an assistant professor of behavioral science at the University of Chicago, Booth School of Business. I believe that he's just recently moved there. He was previously at Carnegie Mellon University, which is where I had the fortune to meet him. I remember at the time he was this rising scholar in behavioral economics that everybody loved, and it was really great to attend a couple of his classes back there. And by now he's an eminent speaker, right? So his research spans a variety of topics across economics and psychology. He has studied the role of incorrect beliefs in discrimination, the prevalence of behavioral biases amongst expert and non-expert investors, and how to better motivate performance by incorporating psychology into incentives. He has an incredible track record in terms of publications. His work has been published in the American Economic Review, PNAS, Management Science, and several others. He's the recipient of many awards, among which I will only name the New Investigator Award for Behavioral Science and Policy Association and the Hillel Einhorn New Investigator Award from the Society of Judgment and Decision Making. I don't want to take any more time because I'm really looking forward to his talk. So Alex, welcome. The floor is yours, and thank you for being with us here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I'm really happy to be here and to give this talk. Again, thank you so much for having me. This is a great honor. So I'm just going to share my screen. Do you see the notes or the normal slide?
The notes.
The notes, okay. Better?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so so today I'm going to be talking about dynamic inconsistency and risky choice, and I'm going to be presenting some evidence on this question from both the lab and the field. And this project is joint with Raleigh Heimer, who's a finance professor at Boston College, Svetlana Ilieva, who was at the Max Planck and now just joined the University of Bonn's finance group, and Martin Weber at the University of Mannheim. And the question that we're going to be talking about and providing some empirical research on is really basic, which is how do people make decisions, risky decisions over time? So particularly a lot of behavioral econ judgment and decision-making marketing research looks at how people make risky decisions, but a lot less of the research focuses on how they make risky decisions over time in the sense of responding to prior gains and losses and so forth. And what we're going to be doing in this project is looking at that aspect of it, how people respond to prior gains and losses, but also we're going to be looking at comparing what they actually do in response to gains and losses and comparing that to their plans of what they intended to do in response to gains and losses when they first started taking on risk in the first place. And we're going to be able to do that through a unique data set in a financial context, particularly actual retail investors using their own money over time. And we're going to complement that with a laboratory experiment to kind of bring it closer to theory and allow us to identify some specific hypotheses. We're going to be looking at whether people actually, when they start taking on risk and they make a plan of how to respond to, actually seeing realizations of that risk, seeing gains and losses, whether they follow through on their plan or whether they systematically deviate from those plans. And what I'm going to show you is that they deviate, and they deviate in a very, very specific way, particularly basically in both of the contexts that we're going to be looking at. People start taking on risk with the intention of essentially, after experiencing a loss, what they intend to do is to say, look, I don't want to take on any more risk. I'm going to limit my downside on this particular bet or on this particular purchase of an asset. But if I gain or I win or the price goes up, I want to stay in. I want to keep taking on risk. I want to stay in this position. This is their plan. This is what motivates them to take on risk in the first place. But what we see is actually that they do the exact opposite. What they end up doing is after losing or seeing the price go down, they double down on that risk. They keep taking on more risk. They chase their losses. After seeing a win, they do the opposite of that. They basically start cut the risk and stop and sell the position much earlier than they intended to. So there's the dynamic inconsistency. There's an inconsistency between planned and actual behavior on both the gain and the loss side in the opposite directions. And what we're going to argue and show, particularly in the laboratory experiment, this is consistent with the dynamic model of cumulative prospect theory. And then what we're going to talk about is what implications does this have, particularly in the paper that hopefully was forwarded to all of you. We have a pretty elaborate discussion of what this means for welfare. This idea that, look, people took on risk with one intention and then they actually ended up doing the opposite. What does that mean for, are they worse off because of this mistake, or does it really not matter? What we're going to show what we show in the paper is that actually the ability to take on this specific form of risk actually makes people worse off than if they had a commitment device to actually stick to their strategies. And this has implications for things like interpreting other behavioral biases in the literature, such as the disposition effect, which is one of the most robust findings from behavioral economics and finance. It's this idea that people take on risk and then they chase their losses and cut their gains too early. We can interpret that through the lens of people's actual planned behavior, and to say that this bias not only has financial consequences, it has welfare consequences as well. And then finally, we're going to end on with some discussion of specific policies that have been introduced by the European Union recently, which, based on our evidence, can actually potentially exacerbate behavioral biases and lead to welfare losses. So that's kind of what the outline of the talk today.